Good afternoon. I am going to present to you a research study entitled Teaching Effectiveness of DMMMSU Clinical Instructors, a Basis for an Enhancement Program. Many people would say that there is a global nursing shortage today. But is that really true? Nursing shortage refers to a situation where the demand for registered nurses is greater than the supply. The well-documented nursing shortage since 1990s has lured Filipino high school graduates to take nursing in college. But for Philippine colleges of nursing, the increasing demand to accommodate more students presents a dilemma. Who will teach them? If developed countries are in need of many nurses, here in the Philippines, we could see that the nursing field shows an entirely different scenario. The Philippines educates more nurses than it needs. This is partly because the wide publicity about shortages up to 2020 in the industrialized countries and other nations has stimulated a very high interest in the nursing recruitment and nursing education. Many nursing schools mushroomed to accommodate the public from that time. But let us see the status of the nursing profession, particularly in the education. This is the pattern of the Philippines Nurses Licensure Examination national passing rate from the year 2004 up to December 2010. Unfortunately, it is decreasing. The latest board exam results last December 2010 marked the lowest passing rate. Moreover, the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, announced last year that out of the 464 nursing schools who participated in the 2009 board exam, 253 of them had a percentage below the national passing rate. And out of the 254 nursing schools, more than 100 had a passing rate below 30%. This figure caught the attention of CHED. They announced that if the average board exam passing rate for the next 3 years remained below 30%, which is the minimum set by CHED Memorandum Order Number 14, Series of 2009, unfortunately, their nursing schools will be phased out. Clinical instructors are expected to be competent, since they act as facilitators of clinical experience, resulting to the acquisition of our skills, knowledge, and attitude. Having the competent instructors, combined by the students willing to learn, students will become competent graduates and nurses. With the presented situation, we decided to conduct this study to know how competent our clinical instructors are, with the guide of the theories of Henderson, Patricia Benner, and Cole. This study aims to determine the level of teaching effectiveness of DMMMSU clinical instructors, which will serve as a basis in the formulation of an enhancement program for DMMMSU clinical instructors. Specifically, it sought to answer the following problems. First, what is the profile of DMMMSU clinical instructors as to age, gender, educational attainment, length of service as clinical instructor, and length of hospital experience? Second, what is the level of teaching effectiveness of DMMMSU clinical instructors along cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains as evaluated by the level coordinators, self, and students? Third, is there a significant difference in the level of teaching effectiveness of DMMMSU clinical instructors along cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains as evaluated by the level coordinators, self, and students? Fourth, what are the strengths and weaknesses of DMMMSU clinical instructors in terms of teaching effectiveness? And lastly, what enhancement program for DMMMSU clinical instructors can be proposed based from the results of the study. For the nursing schools to shape up, they need qualified and competent faculty. The following are the qualifications of a faculty in the Philippines per CHED Memo number 14, series of 2009. First, registered nurse in the Philippines. Second, with current valid PRC ID. Third, master's degree holder. Fourth, at least 1 year of clinical experience. Fifth, a member of accredited professional nursing organization of good standing. Now, having known and reviewed the qualifications, are the faculty qualified to mold student nurses to become efficient healthcare providers? This study will serve as an eye-opener in the different fields of nursing. It will help clinical instructors improve the way they facilitate learning in the clinical field. The effectivity and efficiency of the teachers is reflected by the performance of the students. Both will affect the quality of care that the public will receive in the clinical area. The enhancement program will contribute to the development of clinical instructors in order to meet what is expected of them and in order to enhance the status of the nursing education in the country. The study is a quantitative descriptive research design which was conducted from June 2010 to March 2011 at DMMMSU ICHAMS Abao, La Union. There were 3 groups of respondents in this study. The first group were the 4 level coordinators. The second group was the 14 contractual clinical instructors. And the last group was the 173 DMMMSU ICHAMS students who were chosen to stratified random sampling. The principal instrument used in this study was a structured checklist questionnaire. There were 2 sets of questionnaires, one for the clinical instructor and another for the students and the level coordinators. It made up of topics along the 3 domains of learning, specifically cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains. The validity of the tool was determined by asking 3 experts to evaluate the tool's adequacy, suitability, and language level. On a scale of 1 to 5, the mean was 4.33. Furthermore, the reliability of the tool was established wherein 10 midwifery and 10 nursing schools from DMMMSU were chosen randomly as respondents for the pre-test. The conduct alpha formula was used to measure the internal consistency of the instrument, and the result was 0.98, indicating that every item in the tool is reliable. After determining that the tool was valid and reliable, permission from the administration and respondents were taken, and the rights of the respondents were considered. Then, the tool was distributed and received immediately from the respondents. The data were tabulated and prepared for statistical treatment and analysis. The profile was determined using frequency counts and percentages. The strengths and weaknesses and level of teaching effectiveness was determined using average reading mean. And for the significant difference in the teaching effectiveness as the profile, one way of analysis of variance and Schatz's tests were used. The following are the salient findings of the study. Most of the clinical instructors are 22 to 27 years old, female, with master's degree units, have 2 to 3 years of practice, to have 2 to 3 years length of service with at most 1 year hospital experience. The teaching effectiveness in terms of the cognitive domain in general is very satisfactory. The level coordinators and students' rating is very satisfactory, while self-evaluation of the clinical instructors is outstanding. In terms of the psychomotor domain, it is very satisfactory in all the respondents. The level of teaching effectiveness of the clinical instructors as to the affective domain is the same that of the cognitive domain. Again, self-evaluation is outstanding, while the 2 groups of respondents are very satisfactory. Specifically, The indicator with the highest mean under the cognitive domain is that the clinical instructors relate discussion to actual situations and experiences. On the other hand, the indicator with the lowest mean is drawing information on the state-of-the-art of theory to practice his discipline. Under the psychomotor domain, the indicator with the highest mean was the conduct of free and false conferences. On the other hand, showing automatically to the students their performance grade after the exposure in the clinical area had the lowest mean. The indicators with the highest mean under the affective indicators was the clinical instructors portraying dignified attire and bearing at all times. On the other hand, the indicator with the lowest mean was the possession of no annoying peculiarities or mannerism. In terms of the third problem, which is there a significant difference in the level of teaching effectiveness of DMMMSU clinical instructors along cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains as evaluated by the level coordinators, self, and students? Yes, there is. Specifically, with the use of Chef's formula, it was found out that the difference lies between the clinical instructors and students. Self-rating on teaching effectiveness is higher than the students. The fourth finding is that all the three domains of learning are the strengths of the clinical instructors. An enhancement program for clinical instructors is then proposed. Based on the stated findings, the following conclusions were formulated. First, clinical instructors are mostly female, early adults, newly hired, still pursuing master's degree with at most 1 year hospital experience. Second, it revealed that clinical instructors teach effectively. Third, self-evaluation is higher compared to students. Fourth, clinical instructors competently teach in all domains of learning. An enhancement program was proposed to further promote the capability of the clinical instructors. Based on the results of the study, the recommendation is focused on the implementation of the proposed enhancement program for clinical instructors. It aims to improve the clinical instructors' competence in facilitating learning in the clinical settings and consequently develop also the competence of the student nurses. The said enhancement program comprises of action plans integrating the different activities and programs to achieve the objectives. It also presents a scheme in the conduct of an in-house training, the proposed 1-week didactic training design, and continuous performance evaluation of the clinical instructors. This study presents a challenge to all of us here. To the clinical instructors, deans, visitors and guests, student nurses and nurse graduates. We also portray the role of the teacher to our clients. The program maintains its focus, which is the improvement of clinical instructors' competence in teaching, because nurses are not academically well-trained in teaching as the professional teachers are. It is therefore a must to learn how to teach. In 2 months' time, starting today, I'll be one of those who will have the opportunity to prove that we are already capable to professionally practice nursing. Let us be reminded that the only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and change. Our hope then is that we, as nurses in all parts of the world, should work hand in hand in order to uplift the nursing profession and to improve further the quality of care that we provide to our clients. Let us always be reminded that we should not stop to learn. Thank you very much, and once again, good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ms. Elena Luisa Pimentel. So that concludes the presentation. But now we are going to entertain questions from our audience.